There is a feeling that lives in the chest, not pain, not quite. More like pressure. A low, persistent pressure that's been there so long you've stopped noticing it. The way you stop noticing the hum of a refrigerator. It's just part of the house now. You feel it most in the quiet moments, when the noise goes off and the scroll stops and there's a second, just a second, before you reach for the next thing. In that second, something surfaces. Something that doesn't have a clean name, doesn't fit neatly into anxious or depressed or burned out. It's more like a question your body is asking that your mind doesn't know how to answer. Is this it? Not dramatically. Not as a crisis. Just quietly, persistently, like a note held just slightly flat. Is this the life? Is this the direction? Is this who I actually am? Or is this just what happened? If you've felt that, if you feel it now, I want you to know something before we go any further. That feeling is not a symptom of something wrong with you. It is the most honest thing about you. It is the sound of a person who was handed someone else's map and whose body, quietly, after all this time, is finally refusing to pretend it leads anywhere real. Here is something that is true of almost everyone watching this. You did not choose your first map. Nobody does. That's not a critique, it's just the nature of arriving in a world that already exists, already has opinions, already has a very specific image of what a successful, worthy, well-directed human being looks like. You were born into a story that was already being written. And the people around you, the ones who loved you, the ones who were trying, the ones who wanted the best for you, even when they couldn't fully see you, they handed you their pages and said, "Here, start here." Maybe it was a career path, a definition of success, a way of being in the world, stoic or striving or selfless or cautious. Maybe it was a belief about what you deserved, about how much space you were allowed to take up, about what kind of person you were supposed to become. You didn't choose it, but you absorbed it. We all did. And for a while, maybe a long while, it worked, or at least it didn't hurt yet. In 1966, a developmental psychologist named James Marcia was studying something that Erickson had mapped before him, the stages through which a person builds an identity. And he identified a phenomenon that I think explains more about the quiet suffering of our generation than almost anything else I've ever come across. He called it identity foreclosure. The name sounds clinical. The reality is anything but. Foreclosure happens when someone settles into an identity, a direction, a self-concept, a life plan, without ever genuinely exploring one. Not through avoidance, not through laziness, but because the structure was already in place before they were old enough to question it. The foreclosed person doesn't look lost. That's what makes it invisible for so long. They look decided. They look fine. They have the answers when people ask. They have the plan, the path, the trajectory. But somewhere underneath all of that settled-looking exterior, there is a pressure, a hum, a question the body keeps asking that the mind has been trained to ignore. Is this mine? Now, I want to be careful here, because this conversation can easily become something it shouldn't be. It can become blame. Your parents failed you, your school system broke you, the culture lied to you. That's not what this is. Because here's what I've come to believe, having sat with this for a long time. Most of the people who handed us our maps weren't trying to trap us. They were trying to protect us. They gave us the map that had worked for them, or the map they wished they'd had, or the map they believed the world required in order to survive it. They gave us what they had. The problem was never the map itself. Maps contain real knowledge, real accumulated wisdom. There are threads in the map you inherited that are genuinely worth keeping, about endurance, about community, about showing up for something beyond yourself. The problem is something subtler. The problem is the belief that the map is the territory, that someone else's route, drawn for someone else's terrain, in someone else's era, towards someone else's destination, is the only route available. Here is what I know about identity. Real identity. The kind that holds up under pressure. The kind that doesn't require constant performance to maintain. It is not something you find. It is not buried inside you waiting to be excavated if you just think hard enough or meditate long enough or figure out the right answer. Identity is something you build, and you can only build it by doing what foreclosure, by definition, prevents: exploration. Not the comfortable kind. Not the kind where you already know the answer before you ask the question. The real kind, where you try something and it fails, and the failure tells you something true. Where you hold a belief up to the light and ask, genuinely, whether it belongs to you or whether you inherited it so young it started to feel like skin. That's what we're here to practice. 3 places to start. Not transformations, not revelations, just honest starting points for this week. The first is an audit. You cannot navigate away from a map you cannot see clearly. So before you discard anything, before you burn anything down, you look. Take one belief you hold about what your life is supposed to look like. Just one. It might be about career, about relationships, about what kind of person you're supposed to become, about how much is enough. Take it, hold it up, and trace it back, not as an accusation, as archaeology. Where did it come from? Who said it first? Was it ever spoken aloud? Or did you just absorb it? Is it based on your own experience or someone else's? You're not deciding whether to keep it yet. You're just seeing it clearly, possibly for the first time. A map you can see is a map you can choose. The second is a retrieval. In among everything inherited, everything performed, everything you adopted to survive and fit and be acceptable, there is almost always something that was never about approval, never strategic, never for anyone else. A subject that lit you up before you knew it was supposed to. A way of thinking that felt natural before anyone told you whether it was valuable. Something small and private that you returned to again and again for no fully justifiable reason. Find it. Name it. Write it down somewhere it won't get lost. This is not your identity, but it is a thread, and sovereign selves are built by following threads like this, not to their productive conclusion, but to their honest one. The third is a permission you give yourself. Our world rewards certainty. The person who seems decided, directed, clear, they get taken seriously. The person who says, "I'm not sure yet," gets looked at with mild concern. And so we fake certainty. We foreclose our own exploration before it can begin, because looking unformed, looking in process, feels like a kind of failure. This week, just this week, try one small act of genuine not knowing. Not a plan, not research toward an answer. One honest question about yourself that you sit with long enough for something true to surface. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing at becoming self. You are in it. And the people who come out of it with something real, with a life that actually fits, are not the ones who rush to the answer. They are the ones who are willing to stay in the question long enough to let the real answer find them. You came here because something didn't fit. Maybe you've known that for a long time. Maybe it became clear in the last 10 minutes. Either way, the fact that you're asking this question, that you're here at all, that some part of you refused to keep walking a path that never felt like yours, that is not weakness. That is the first honest thing you've done in a while, and it's enough. This channel is about becoming, not because I'm going to tell you who to become, but because I believe the process of becoming, the real and honest and sometimes uncomfortable process, is the most important work a person can do, and almost no one teaches it directly. That's what we're here for. Now, here's where I'll leave you until next time. We've talked about recognizing the map, We've talked about what it means to start finding your own. But here's what I need you to sit with. Even when people see the map is wrong, even when they've named it, traced it, understood it, most of them still can't move. They stand at the edge of a different direction and something inside them goes completely still. Not peaceful, not calm, still in the way a person goes still when they're afraid. What is that? Where does it come from? And what do you actually do about it when it happens to you?